Hi Brighton, my name's Nichola. I'm from a company called The Media Flow, another SEO agency, and I want to talk to you about mobile serendipity. The concept of serendipity is defined as a happy accident, so finding something that you weren't actually looking for, which sounds slightly creepy, possibly. And Google have been talking about a serendipitous search product for a good 2 or 3 years now. This is a product in development, so this presentation is kind of my imaginings of what might be needed to actualize such a product that's going to send us search results before we've even thought to look for that, which is a slightly dangerous thing for me to do because I can't predict the future. I don't work for Google. I work for a search engine, but that was Yahoo, so let's forget about that. But there are things that we can do in order to give us some clues. We can look at key exec statements, the spokespeople like Schmidt and Marissa Mayer. What are they saying publicly about the product? We can look to developments in technology and, of course, developments in search. So 2009, in a Telegraph interview with Marissa Mayer, is one of the first times I came across this concept. And at that time, it was described as omnivorous, which is possibly even creepier, so good title change. And it's described as using a user's total context, so location and personalization and, of course, history. Most importantly, we need to understand the past in order to understand the future or predict the future. 2.2 billion searches in the UK, according to Nielsen, in February, quite significant. But of course, in order to really model that from a behavioural perspective, it needs to be personal, which of course, as we all know, it is. If you put /history at the end of your Google Google URL when you're logged in, you can of course see an entire search log, which is turned on by default. And of course, although you can turn that off, the information is still stored and collected, and the privacy policy accounts for that. Quite interesting to note. So history is one thing, but most importantly, we need to understand proclivity. And proclivity is the tendency to behave in a certain way, is to choose one thing over another. And proclivity modeling is much more sophisticated. It's on the way to almost artificial intelligence. It's much more sophisticated machine learning. Caffeine, big clue in the slide there, predicated, or the infrastructure upgrade predicated Google Instant. And what Google Instant does is it allows for proclivity modeling because it gives behavioral feedback on the fly, something that we can't get before. So before my query is finished, I can then choose to amend, edit, backspace, whatever it might be. And that gives certain clues about my behavior. So, for example, I'm probably more inclined to look for World of Warcraft, being a bit of a geek. Community, next one, history, proclivity, and community. My total context is then the people around me and what we do as a group and our tendency to perhaps behave in a different way to other people. Community, of course, is quite an important object for Google this year. It's been part of the employee incentives is actually to get the social agenda across. And the social agenda, of course, or we can think about the social context for Google. It's not just about Google Plus or a Google product or Google-owned data, because, of course, they crawl the web. So that data is already there, certainly in terms of connectivity in the social graph. So in terms of intelligence, we already know, using personalized search, we can already see that our context in terms of our relationships is known. So if I search for something remotely searchy related, I see all of your lovely little faces there smiling up at me, that matters. Mike, sorry, that was really mean. And additionally, in terms of the data and connectivity, any of us with a Google Plus page will know that that's marked up with schema or different, actually, I'm not sure if it's schema or I think it's microformats. Oh, it's an RDFA, actually, I think. Someone will correct me on that. But for example, I'm saying here in this case that that person on Twitter is me. It's the same person. And of course, location, so history, proclivity, community, and location would be the final data point that I would really need in order to be able to predict what somebody might want in context of where they are and what they're doing. Now, this is obviously a screenshot from Latitude that already exists. And the final thing I'd need is, of course, permission. And I think there was a bit of a massive change to privacy policy quite recently across all owned and operated products, which would facilitate this to actually happen. And of course, as we all know, the HTTPS not provided thing gets around certain loopholes there, which is nice. Now, this is quite an interesting statement for me. For Google, the future of search is more than just mastering mobile, becoming autonomous, but you can all read, is the overall goal of augmenting humanity. Quite interesting when you think about it. In this case, he was talking about the serendipitous product, but quite interesting when you think a few days back to the whole Google Glasses thing and the use of the word augmenting, obviously being augmented reality. So how could this product possibly look? It's a mobile product, an opt-in. Marissa Mayer said that publicly. So just to graph it up, let's imagine that I'm at a search conference, which I am. Imagine my Android phone is vibrating in my pocket and says, why don't you go and find a coffee shop? You're always searching for coffee. You like coffee. You're not at home because your location is alien. Why not go for a coffee with, your contact, Peter Handley, who works probably and was shooting balloons on the stage earlier. So that gives me things that I've liked, things that I've searched for in the past, my tendency to do something, and connecting me with another human. It's all technically possible. This is just my imagining of how it might look. It's just a mock-up. So how real is it? The last time Maya spoke about this publicly, as far as I'm aware of, that we can search and find information about, was around about a year ago when she was interviewed by Jason Kincaid of TechCrunch, and it was described then as being with us inside of a 2-year horizon. So given that we've had all of these privacy changes, and we've had Google Glasses, etc., it's probably pretty soon. So what the hell do we do about it as SEOs? Well, this is quite cool, really, because it's stuff we're already doing anyway, which is great. So no extra work. The most important thing is to make sure that you're marking up your pages with schema, using the local item type, all the rest of that lovely stuff, and of course, dovetailing your social. And I'm going to give the last word to Eric Schmidt there to take us to the creepy line. Thanks.